Hey y'all, Seth Bradley here. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending your valuable time learning with us. Absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. I've got a small ask. If you'd please just take a few seconds and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening from, it goes a long way in landing the best new guests for our show. That's it. Thanks again. Let's go. What's going on, Law Nation? Welcome to the Passive Income Attorney Podcast, your favorite place for learning about the world of alternative passive investing so that you can have more freedom, flexibility, and fun. Today, we are going to dive into the world of property management. Now, on this podcast, we do talk about real estate investing quite a bit. We talk about passive investing. We talk about vetting the sponsor, the market, the deal. But what happens after we close on the property? Well, these sponsors that you invest with need to work hand in hand with a property manager. Maybe it's a third party, maybe they have it in-house, but there will be a property manager that's ultimately going to drive the success of your investment and get you those projected returns that you're hoping to get. Now, today, we're going to have an opportunity to pick the brain of a true expert, Janet Fields, who is the president of Oak Trust Properties, a property management company with hundreds and hundreds of properties under management near the Charleston, South Carolina area. All right, folks, let's jump in.
This is the Passive Income Attorney Podcast, where you'll discover the secrets and strategies of the ultra wealthy on how they build streams of passive income to give them the freedom we all want. Attorney Seth Bradley will help you end the cycle of trading your time for money so you can make money while you sleep. Start living the good life on your own terms. Now, here's your host, Seth Bradley.
Janet, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Seth.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for coming on. Well, let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your background, your story, and take it back as far as you'd like to take it.
All right. So again, I am Janet Fields, CEO and founder of Oak Trust Properties. So I bought my first property in 2008, but my journey really started, I believe, with helping my family flip properties. My dad was a real estate agent. He started picking up his own properties when I was really young. And then, the next progression is to have your kids do child labor on the properties. So naturally we did that. And then I never was like, hey, let's do property management. I always just like change locks or cut grass or help flip properties and made some extra money here and there. But eventually I wanted to go to school for art and graphic design. That was always something that I was interested in: marketing, telling stories, stuff like that, like visual stories. So I really gravitated towards that. My parents were not thrilled about investing in that. I don't understand why. So instead I went to school, found out I wasn't going to really like make a lot of money doing that. So I went to government contracting, where I did labor. I produced communication systems for submarines and MRAPs and tanks and stuff like that, which was pretty cool. It was an interesting job. I learned a lot, but it wasn't exactly the environment I wanted to stay in for a long time. So somebody left my dad's business off the front desk, and I talked to him about that. I was like, hey, do you mind if I step in the business, try this out for a while? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. I have two other sisters, and they were never interested in property management, and I was. So he was super excited about that, because he'd always thought this would be like a great thing to give to us, And when I expressed interest, he got pretty emotional, and I got emotional because it was hard to ask. Like I never had to really ask. That's a big ask, right? Like, will you take a chance on me? And he did. So it was amazing. We both cried and celebrated. It was amazing. I started just running applications and stuff, and then started figuring out the business and how I could improve it. Because when I got into it, we were, smaller, informal shop where we didn't want to see or hear from our tenants. That was like, the collective feeling throughout property management. And through marketing and graphic design and all that, I knew that that was strange. That was odd. Like you should be appreciating them and like building stories and making them feel good and all those things. So I was like, what's going on here? Like, how can I fix this? So I really got interested in the customer experience and who we are for them. And I just kind of started digging into that. And that's how I got where I am today in the back office, just kind of running this company. and trying to create as much value for everyone that we, shake hands, do business with.
Yeah.
Impact.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that story. I really appreciate that. Was there anything kind of in that government contracting job that made you have like an aha moment where you're like, you know what, I've had enough of regular jobs. I'm going to go into something more entrepreneurial for myself?
Yes, I was there for about 5 years, and it was like an entry level position, but it paid really well because it's government. They got money to spend. So we got good benefits. We had great pay. The hours were pretty cool because we went in early and we were out by 3. But the environment was not amazing. And as I tried to move within the company, it got a little odd. I started getting some interesting feedback. And I wasn't really thrilled about that. And I was like, okay, well, I've been here 5 years, and I feel like I definitely have something to offer and progress, and that wasn't happening. So I was like, it's time to leave. I'm not just going to sit here. I'm not going to be stuck in this. Like, I got things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
At their mercy. And sometimes you just gotta be like, I've had enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. At their mercy. I definitely want to have more control over my life. And if I want something, I can figure out how to go get it. Like, it's not like just adding up the dollars. It's how do I get it?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. When I stopped working or for somebody else started working for myself, I'm probably working just as much, if not more hour wise, but it's a different feeling of accomplishment of what you're doing and how
Yeah.
you're doing it.
Yeah. You don't feel captured or contained. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, let's jump into property management a little bit. Let's start at the beginning. When I think a lot of people, when they get their first rental property or their second or their third, they kind of, either they get a property manager right out of the gate, or they're kind of trying to do it themselves. They're trying to think about, do I want to pay that 10% or whatever it might be to somebody else to manage it? How does one determine whether or not it's time to find a property manager or continue trying to self-manage themselves?
All right. So you want to know, what do you have time for? What do you have time to support? And are you going to treat it as a business and really just commit to it and get organized? Or are you going to treat it more like a hobby? Like, when a issue occurs, then you're going to solve it. If you can be proactive and plan it, or as things happen, like record your process and you can be prepared the next time, go for it. But if surprises make you uncomfortable, if you don't have a high risk tolerance, if you don't like conflict, if you don't like the unknown, if you don't like calls at odd hours or on the weekend, it's not for you. It's not. So yeah, you want to build a team.
Yeah, for sure. And I consider it it's a cost of doing business. I mean, you factor in whenever you buy that property, you factor that 10% in from the get-go. That's just what it's going to cost, because even if it's not this first or second property, if you get more and more, at some point, you're going to have to relinquish the reins and give it to a professional to handle for you so that you can buy more properties. So you need to factor in that property management fee.
Absolutely. Knowing what your time is worth, like hourly rate, is an excellent way to figure all that out. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of our listeners are attorneys. So, they're billing, $200,000 an hour and still trying to, manage a single family property or manage a few single family properties. It makes no sense.
Yeah, you're in deficit. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And taking a step further, I talk to people about, flipping houses and things like that for attorneys that are partners in law firms. And it's like, well, do you really want to take away from something you're making that much active income in to flip a property? It's probably not the best idea. There's probably other types of investments out there, whether it's a turnkey residential real estate or commercial real estate where you're a passive investor.
Yeah, and somebody else can do it more efficiently because they've done it repetitively. Like, you would be there problem solving, stumbling through it and wasting time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So how do you go about finding a good property manager once you made that decision and say, okay, I've got to do it. I got to give it to somebody. How do you find a good one? Because there's a lot of bad ones out there, Janet.
Oh yeah. So I would hop on the old internets and do some searches, do a little Google search, see what's out there. You want to look per your area because not everybody serves everywhere. Oak Trust Properties is looking to expand. So if you want to do that, give us a call. And then you would just start talking to them, see who fits your personality, who makes you feel comfortable, who's being proactive. You want to do those sort of things because you are building a long-term relationship. This is not just, an upfront relationship where we put a bow on the product and we hand it over. We're going to be working together year over year. It may be higher touch points in the beginning of the end, but long-term relationship. You want to be able to like work with these people. So people who are proactive and they can tell you what to expect before it happens, that's a really good place to start. And then the other thing is you're going to want to ask for that management agreement, because the management agreement tells the story. It is literally a timeline. If you just go in there and walk through it, it's a timeline with general issues that will arise throughout, and it'll tell you exactly how we're going to handle those issues and how much it might cost. So that you'd want to pull a few references or go out and find, I always do 3 to 5 people that I'm interested in our companies, pull their management agreements, make phone calls, do comparisons, find out how you would like to pay, because there's all different kinds of cost structures. There's all upfront, there's pay by touch point. So you just want to find, what's right for you. It's just like a burger. There's a million out there, but they're not all the same.
Right. Exactly. What are some of the things once you hire a property manager that separates the good ones from the bad ones? I mean, once you kind of done your due diligence, hopefully you made some good decisions and you hired the right one. But once you kind of get into it, what are some of the things that a good property manager does that maybe bad ones don't?
It's a lot like the same way that you would have a relationship. Well, it's not the same way, but when you say there's an issue, they should be coming to you with the answer to those problems. They don't come to you with problems, they come to you with solutions. So they say, hey, there's a leak. We have these 2 estimates going out. Here's the options for these repairs, A, B, and C. This is how much it'll cost. How would you like to move forward? It's not like, oh my gosh, there's a leak. What do you want me to do? So they should be always proactive. They should also have an idea of what to expect. So when they do your periodic inspections, they can take a look at the property and say, hey, the carpet looks great here, but it might not make it another 5 years. Or, hey, your carpet, it made it 10 years. Congratulations. That's amazing. But this next time, like, it's probably not going to re-rent at this rate. So you want ones that are proactive. They're thinking about your dollars. We're not making beautiful Airbnbs with long-term rentals. We do 12-month rentals. So you want somebody who understands your goals and can help you get to your goals by supporting you.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love all that. Could we go through, maybe back up a little bit and just go through the roles of a property manager? Because some folks out there haven't even bought their first rental property yet. When you hand over those reins, what does the property manager actually do for you? What do they get for that 10%?
We pave your way to success.
Yeah.
So what we do is we take your property, we take a look at it, we give you your comps and variables, we tell you what other properties as similar as possible to it rent for, and we have a little conversation about that. We give you a marketing plan and say, hey, at this rate that we guarantee it to be rented in 30 days or less. Our goal is 14, but 30 days is what we want to do for you, like our guarantee. And then we move forward. If you do go outside that price point, they should already have a plan and an action for you saying, hey, if it doesn't hit this price point, you don't fall into our guarantee. And here's the stair steps per every 5 days that we're going to be making until we get to the guaranteed price point. So you want people with a plan. We're not just winging it. Like, if without systems and processes, we're not reducing your liability, we're not reducing your loss. So you want those people. And then the next thing is we go market your property, make it look the best as possible. We put up a subscriptions. Sorry, just totally lost that word. We describe the property. There you go. And we just put it all over the different websites. We really avoid websites that can easily scam, but they're going to end up on Craigslist and stuff. But we syndicate to a bunch of different sites. We use Zillow, we use HotPads, Zumper, all those places. And then we get the leads. The guest cards are completely overwhelming. So that's like the biggest part of the front end, is like just going through those guest cards, answering those questions, getting the people in the door. And then after we get them in door, we want to push for an application because we want people to apply for that property. So after that, we already know what we're looking for. It's not like we're going out to lunch and interviewing this person and having an emotional attachment. We have a scorecard of like the line items, the bullet points, and the qualifications of what we want for your property, because we know those are the most qualified residents who have the least amount of risk. So we know what we're doing. Once we have a qualified applicant, we bring it to you and say, hey, this is a qualified applicant. They want to do the 12-month lease. They do have 2 dogs. They have X credit, X income, X this. We're not showing you an ID because we don't want to open you up to liability. That's our liability. And then we just move forward. You say, yes, that sounds great. I would love somebody to fulfill my lease. So when we move them into that property, And then we just start sending you payments. So they pay rent and we collect it and we automatically deposit it into your account. And then after that, it's little things that pop up. Hey, my garbage disposal doesn't work. So we get that call and we repair that. And we say, hey, FYI, garbage disposal is out. It's, $165 to replace it. And we're going to go ahead and do that for you. And you say, okay, great, no problem. And we just keep trucking along. There's a periodic inspection around 8 to 10 months that we do. We take a look at the property, make sure it's being taken care of properly, record all that. And then we go in and do another market comp and tell you what's going on at your property and say, okay, if we keep this resident in the property, here's what we expect to be able to get for you. This is this percentage increase, and these are the dollar amounts in your range that is like highly recommended. And then if for some reason you don't want to do a renewal, this is what you could possibly get. And if you'd like to renovate your property or do any improvements, here's what you can possibly get for that. So we really wanted to bring you options and to let you know what you could do and what we can deliver for you.
Attorneys, doctors, passive income seekers, I'm talking to you. I remember investing in my first passive real estate deal, the anxiety, the uncertainty of what I didn't know, and what I had never done before. It was a lot of money being wired to someone I barely knew. Now, it all worked out, but that's not always the case. I would have never invested in that same deal today, now that I have the knowledge and the confidence to know how to invest intelligently. And now with a combination of uncertainty and a flood of newbie sponsors in the market, how do you find the true experts that will perform and make your investment successful? For those of you out there looking to learn how to invest passively in syndications, we've been behind the scenes working on something very special. You don't have time to go through a 6-month course or to try to make a program designed for deal sponsors work for you. You want to be a passive investor. Focus on your career and your family, but add cash flowing, appreciating commercial real estate investments to your portfolio so you can practice when you want to and not because you have to. We've built a powerful passive investor program designed to teach you everything you need to know, but nothing that you don't. It's a 4-week program, but if you really want to make moves, it can be completed in just a few days with ongoing support as you make your investment decisions. Passive Income Pro is enrolling now with a very limited number of seats for each cohort, so you can get the hands-on attention that you need. Go to passiveincomepro.io to learn more. Cool. Yeah, I like what you're saying about the market comps. Would someone be able to come to you before they even buy a property? Let's say or maybe they get it under contract and it has a rehab component. Can they come to you and say, hey, Janet, this is the property I have under contract. If I put, $70,000 in improvements, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Granite countertops, all this stuff. Do you think the market can support it? And if the market can support it, what kind of rent can I get it so I can factor that into my pro forma? Can they come to you with questions like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can pull comps on that. We would just need to know what are the improvements that you're making, and then we can start pulling comps on it and let you know what go on. Yes, absolutely. We love having those front end conversations. If you get that foundation set and you know it's going to work, you're going to be a lot happier and we're going to be able to serve you. So yes, give us that front end call. That's always the best for everybody.
Yeah, that's a pretty powerful piece because, especially for someone like myself that invests out of state. I mean, I know the markets that I invest in, but if you're actually in it, if you're a property manager in that market, you really know it. Block to block, street to street, house to house, and you'd be able to make a much more accurate, make some accurate assumptions rather as opposed from me sitting in San Diego, California.
Yeah, the MLS it's nice to have access to MLS.
Yeah, definitely. What are some of the strategies? Because I know I've had issues in the past with some of my properties as far as turnover. I'll try to, and you might allude to this later, but I know for myself, sometimes I try to max out the rent, maybe even price it out of the market a little bit and just get kind of one person to bite. And then, but they see that I think a year later, so they move out. Is that something you see pretty often? Do you kind of use that in your strategy as far as keeping tenants from turning over so often?
Yeah, so there's definitely a balance in everything you do. Just like a business, you can max out your dollars, but by maxing out your dollars, you're probably going to be stripping your services down. So yeah, you definitely want to keep a dashboard of all your different components and find out, how they all lay together. We definitely like the property to be at a balanced rate between moving quickly and getting rented. because, every day the property sits on market, it's a loss that could be like $50 to $75 per day. So if you're sitting for 30 days or, 15 to 30 days, that's a half a month to a full month's rent. I mean, it doesn't always make sense financially, just those couple of dollars. So if you get them in there and taking over the lease as soon as possible, it is more cost effective in most instances.
Yeah. Are there any other things you guys do to prevent that turnover?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So having a positive relationship with residents is really good. And that's a newer thing, honestly, in the last couple years or decades, is people forging a relationship with the residents, keeping open communication with them, reaching out to them for positive things and just checking in. So we have a lot of hurricanes here in Charleston. So keeping that positive open communication is great, because when we have hurricanes coming, we're like, hey guys, just so you know, we don't board up windows around here because it's a safety hazard, super dangerous, don't do it. We're gonna have probably heavy phone lines during this process. So if you do have a leak or anything massive to the structure, let us know. Other than that, you can send us a text or an email. And the people are really receptive to that. And then we check in on them through a mass text after the hurricane, and we say, hey, we're just checking on you, make sure that you and your family are okay. And if you see anything around the property, take a picture and send it to us. And people, just asking them how they are after something like that it's a game changer. People, they like hearing from us because we're not just hey, where's the rent?
Right. Yeah. Keep that line of communication open. So it's not you're just a bill collector and that's it. You're a friend, you're looking out for them. You're trying to make sure that everything's good for them, because that's their home as well.
Yeah. Happier residents stay longer. If you feel somebody's always telling you no or asking for something, they're going to shun you or just leave.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit. What, when things start going awry, let's kind of keep this progression going with your property manager, what are some of those telltale signs you think, at least from, let's say from the property owner's perspective, that they can be on the lookout for, that they should be like, oh man, this relationship isn't working out the way it should be. Maybe I should start looking at, firing my property manager and finding a new one.
So not getting visual images of your property after you invest in your property or you get somebody in the property, that's a really good tell. Not being able to get a hold of your property manager, they should have a reasonable time frame that they set to say, hey, this is our feedback window. We'll give you, response in 24 hours. Those sort of things are really important. Not being able to tell you what the next step is to get you prepared. Even when you sit down with a brand new CPA, they say, hey, okay, this is great. I'll send you over our proposal and a retention package. So they tell you your next steps. It's not oh gosh, what now? There should be an action plan at the end of every conversation. So you want somebody who is a professional, somebody who is doing it as a business, knows what they're doing, and they're not dabbling. It's not a hobby.
Yeah. But it's a big step, right? To fire your property manager. I mean, people hate to fire other people, first of all. And then second of all, just going through those hoops of, oh, now I've got to find another property manager. I've got to figure out how to terminate this contract, start a new one. I mean, is there anything else as far as just, when is it too much when you're like, okay, I've got to do it. I've got to move on. I've got to put the work in and find a new property manager.
Yeah, when it's costing you money because nobody's reporting issues, you're having secondary damage, residents aren't taking care of the property, they're asking you to approve applications. You don't want that liability. That's why you hired us. Those sort of things. So I would definitely, you want to hear from your property manager, you want to have positive connection with them, and they should just be able to supply you with the best service possible. If you don't feel like you're getting that, it's time to start looking at that management agreement, finding out if there's any fines or owed fees at the end, and start come up with a game plan, because you want to move right around the time that the lease is up to the next property manager.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like anything else, right? You got to hire slow and fire fast. If people are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, maybe try to correct the relationship. But if those, they fall on deaf ears, then it's time to move on.
Yeah, you don't want to ignore a leak. It just gets worse.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to get your opinion on just real estate in general, and what opportunities you're seeing in the marketplace. I know, for instance, Airbnbs and short-term rentals are huge right now, but there's a lot of risk involved because you don't know what municipalities are going to do. What are some of the what are some of the opportunities you're seeing in the residential real estate space?
Definitely short-term rentals, like executive rentals. There's in our market, especially, we've been behind housing for like 10 plus years. And this last couple of years has just exasperated it. People coming from higher density areas are moving down to Charleston and they want a property. We have broken supply chains. You can hardly build a property. And they're like, well, I've moved down here. Now where do I stay? So 3 to 6 month fully furnished rentals is a really great way to go. You want to furnish them with that upfront cost. What we see is moving furniture in and out of properties. That is one of the highest, things that tear down your properties. Just imagine all those suitcases you drag in and out. So that's a really good place to be. If the market turns, it's a good place to be prepared for. But yeah, what I like to look for when I'm looking at properties and suggesting is honestly, where would you like to live? What are the amenities that you're attracted to? Those are the type of properties that we appreciate, are the properties that get rented quickly because people want to live there, not because they're limited by, monetary options.
Sure. And some of those, 3 to 6 month leases, those executive type of leases, that'll actually get you around most of the short-term rental laws, because those are usually like 30 days, right?
Yeah. And we see there's things you can do with contracts too. Like you can write a 12-month contract and then they can just cancel it early. Or if it's a 3-month contract, you can renew it. And there's all sorts of loopholes. You just got to see past the mental block. It's just a block.
Yeah. Find a way to make it work. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hardest part is finding a good property, a good deal nowadays.
Yeah. Right now, I don't even know how people are finding anything right now. It's insane.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. All right. Before we jump into the Freedom 4, do you have one last gold nugget for our listeners?
Yeah, run your numbers before you buy and call a property manager to verify those numbers and see if you're not verifying, but see if you're missing anything. That front end work is always important and it will save you in the long term.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into the Freedom 4.
It's time for the Freedom 4.
What's the best thing you do to keep your mind and body healthy?
Oh, I read/listen to Audible like crazy. So a lot of books. And I love to run and do triathlons, and I like yard work. I like digging in my yard, planting plants, watching those grow, and painting. I love art, so I like to create.
Awesome. That's awesome. You held on to that, even though you're in real estate, you're still an artist as well. So that's nice to have.
It is. I appreciate it.
With all your success, what is one limiting belief that you've crushed along the way, and how did you get past it?
Fear of failure. Just reframing that. So many times I've heard that quitting, like you can't quit, but I mean, what is quitting? You have to define it, and quitting could just be taking a break, just pause. So I tell my kids, I was like, we don't quit, we pause. We collect ourselves, and when we're ready, we go back at it. Yeah. So the fear of failure and quitting, they're not real.
Awesome. What's one actionable step our listeners can do right now to start creating more freedom?
Take control of your money. Don't just it's just like going to a fun park. You get these tickets and then you exchange it for stuff, but get control of how you get your tickets. Don't just sit there for a couple hours. Once you have control of how you make your money, you have more control of your life, more freedom. Time for money is not a great exchange.
Yeah. How has passive income or being an entrepreneur really changed your life for the better?
Oh my gosh, I have so much more freedom. I feel way in control of my life. I feel like my dreams are way more obtainable, even when they move over 2020. So yeah, if I was just sitting and collecting a paycheck, it would not be the same. When I have my own business, I can run it the way I want. I can attract the people I want. I can work in the way I want. And I have 100% control over my life, and it's fantastic.
Love it. All right, Janet, it's been awesome having you on the show today. Where can our listeners find out more about you?
They can go to oaktrustproperties.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, and you can find us on TikTok.
Everywhere.
Full immersion.
All right, Janet, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janet Fields, ladies and gentlemen, what a great episode. Janet, thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate your insights. And what an awesome introduction to the world of property management. And now, after you've listened to this show, you can realize how important property management is and what all goes into it. And that relationship between the property manager and the sponsor is so important. It will make or break the investment. So make sure whenever you vet a sponsor and you vet a deal, see who the property manager is going to be. Look them up as well. Ask them who the property manager is going to be. Do a little bit of research. Is the property manager local? Do they have the track record of experience? It does truly matter. All right, folks, if you're ready to dive into your first or your next passive real estate deal, but you don't necessarily have the confidence to wire someone $50,000, $100,000, I know it can be nerve-wracking. The first time I did it, it was nerve-wracking. The second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time I've done it, it's also nerve-wracking. But in order to take a little bit of the edge off, the key is to get educated. And we have the perfect education tool for you. It's called Passive Income Pro. It's a 4-week program. It's guaranteed to give you the knowledge and the confidence you need to invest in your first or your next passive real estate deal. Go to passiveincomepro.io to get started. All right, kiddos. As always, enjoy the journey.
Thank you for listening to the Passive Income Attorney Podcast with Seth Bradley. Do you want more ideas on how to generate multiple streams of passive income? Then jump over to passiveincomeattorney.com for show notes and resources. Then apply for the private Facebook community by searching for the Passive Income Attorney on Facebook. And we'll see you on the next episode.